Whose kingdom is it today? The environment of Plain of Judgment was harsh and stressful. In addition to the callous surroundings, people were also going through mental anguish of uncertainty about their future. They were experiencing severe stress, bitterness, and anger. This bitterness was not only directed at their own selves, but also at their leaders who had led them astray. Consequently, whenever the followers found such leaders, they beat them up mercilessly. It worked as a prelude to the actual punishment. The Plain of Judgment was littered with such scenes. People were beating up other people and venting their anger on them. Followers on their leaders, youngsters on their elders, and disciples on the clerics. But it was of no benefit now. Nevertheless, such scenes were in a way a source of amusement for those worried and wretched souls. We kept moving ahead amidst these scenes. On the way I said to Saleh, I am concerned that in the previous world we used to get distraught due to shortages of electricity and intense heat, even though it was for a short period. Such a long time has elapsed over here, and people have not had any respite so far. I do not experience the hardships of this environment due to your companionship, but the people who are here are being dealt very badly. Mind your words, Abdullah. They are not being treated badly. Justice is being done to them. No doubt they are being dealt with severely. It is for this very reason that all other creations had refused to assume the burden of decision-making and power in the world, so as to avoid this very stringent test of reward and punishment today. If ordinary people have to face such severe hardships, I cannot visualize what would be happening to those who had power and decision-making status on behalf of the people. I was thinking about the corrupt rulers and dishonest public servants when I made this comment. Do you want to see what is happening to them? Saleh asked. I nodded. Saleh spoke as he started to move in a different direction. Until now, we were in an area for holding people who have yet to undergo accountability. The case of the people you have referred to is similar to those who were foremost in submission to the truth. The latter are currently standing beneath the throne, surrounded by the rewards of God, and will not face any accountability apart from the mere formality of the announcement of their success. Likewise, but conversely, hell has been decided due to their bad deeds for some unfortunate souls. We are heading in their direction now. As we progressed, the intensity and severity of heat continued to increase rapidly. I realized it when I noticed an increase in the quantity of sweat dripping from the people. Sweat was not coming out in drops, it was streaming down. However, the ground was scorching hot, and as soon as the drops of sweat touched it, they evaporated. Due to thirst, the lips of these people were protruding out. They were gasping as if a camel parched with excessive thirst, but to find any water here was out of question. Terror was predominant on their faces, more so than the signs of distress. The reason for the terror also became apparent soon. Suddenly there was a commotion in the crowd. People started running helter-skelter. When the crowd dispersed, I saw two angels running after a person. They were similar to those we had come across while going to the throne earlier. One had a whip of fire, and the other's whip had nails on it. Their target was trying his best to save himself, but the angels would not leave his side. It soon became apparent that the angels were deliberately trying to tire him out. They would come near him and whip him once and say, "O ruler, get up and take a walk in your country." As soon as the whip hit him, he would fall down, scream and cry in pain, get up and start running again. The angels would also repeat their act. It did not take me long to recognize the person. Saleh also introduced him. He was the head of state of your country. In a short while, the head of state had been run down again, after being beaten by whips of fire and nails. Thereafter, the angels started tying him with a long chain glowing like red embers from being heated up in fire. The head of state was helplessly moaning and pleading for mercy. But it seemed that these angels did not know the meaning of the word. They kept doing their job mercilessly. When his entire body had been chained, other angels arrived. The first team said to them, "We have captured the head of state. You now need to go and round up all his supporters, lackeys, courtiers and friends who were party to this ill-fated man's cruelty and corruption." Consequently, there was a similar chaos again in the crowd, with people running, fighting, and being beaten up. In a short while, a large group had been assembled that included ministers, advisors, bureaucrats, relatives, rural landlords, industrialists, and all types of unsavory characters. The angels grabbed them by their hair and started dragging them with their faces on the ground. When they passed by us, we could smell their skins burning. As I started to feel sick from it, Saleh immediately put his hand on my back, which made the sickening odor disappear, allowing me to breathe fresh air again. They dragged them on and took them further away to the left. I kept staring at the patches of blood and lines drawn out on the ground by their bodies that were left behind. After seeing this horrific scene, a sigh escaped my lips involuntarily. I thought, where is their authority now? Where are the days of luxury and extravagance? Where are those magnificent palaces, those corridors of power, lavish clothes, wasteful foreign trips, spectacular cars, grandeur, pride and majesty? Ah, they chose a horrendous and perpetual misery for such trivial and temporary gratifications. Saleh said, "They were all cruel, corrupt and extravagant. The decision about their ill fates had already been taken in the previous world. However, it is not their real punishment. The real punishment will be meted out to them in hell. The angels are taking them in that vicinity. From there, they will be taken for accountability, where they will hear the verdict of eternal disgrace and punishment. Thereafter, they will be taken back to the same spot to our left, from where, one after the other, they will be thrown in hell in groups." On hearing about accountability, I instinctively thought about the time and asked Saleh, "Saleh, our Prophet's prayer was accepted a long time ago, but why has the accountability not commenced so far? To you it looks like a long time as you're in the plane of judgment, and here the time passes very slowly. However, under the throne only a very short time has elapsed. Do you want to know why it has taken even this much time? You had told me that it is because of the people who are to be pardoned on the basis of hardships they are undergoing here. It will be used as an excuse for their reprieve." "Yes, that is one of the reasons. But the second reason is to make people realize that over here, total and absolute authority is in the hands of God. The point is, Abdullah, human beings did not appreciate their forgiving and merciful master. Today, that master is making those people realize that human beings are entirely dependent on him, and at the same time, they are worthless for him. The first manifestation of his power and grandeur was the doomsday, when the world of the people was destroyed and everything they possessed was ruined. The entire might of human beings was not able to save them from that horrifying incident. The second occasion is today, the day of resurrection, when everyone has truly understood that there is no worth or value of anybody in God's presence. The third occasion will commence shortly, that is, the accountability, when God will take the control of skies and earth directly in his own hands. Was it not so up till now? No, it has not been like this so far. Until now, as it is apparent, angels have run the system of this universe as per the commands of the Almighty. Soon he will take control of all affairs of the universe directly in his own hands, so that all creatures, including the jinn, human beings and angels, realize that all authority and power are solely in God's hands. Presently, The entire universe that was spread across an unlimited distance over the skies is being pulled back. You are aware that in the previous world, this universe was spreading further by the second. Now at God's command, distances are shrinking and the multiple galaxies, stars and planets spread all over the universe are being made to come close again. Why is it so? I asked, surprised. God Almighty will distribute them as rewards amongst the inhabitants of paradise. Thereafter, those who have been rewarded will establish their dominions and authority there. This act of consolidation of the universe is what the glorious Quran had referred to as wrapping up of the skies around God's right hand. Having said so, Saleh looked towards the sky. I also followed. The sun was still burning bright. I noticed for the first time that the moon was also present close to the sun, but it had lost its glow and was slowly moving towards the sun. On seeing this, Saleh said, "Today the earth and skies have transformed into something totally different. The earth has swollen and become huge, and its size has increased tremendously." I remember that the diameter of planet Earth was 25,000 kilometers. But now there has been a manifold increase in it. In addition, it has become more beautiful and picturesque than ever before. Archangel Raphael had blown the trumpet twice. On the first sound, everything was destroyed, but on the second sound, human beings had risen again. Between these two sounds, on God's command, planet Earth became larger, and the angels created magnificent homes, palaces and gardens on it, for the residents of paradise. In addition, they created the best facilities for relaxation and amusement, as well as a new world whose beauty is simply beyond your imagination. Every dweller of paradise will be given a home on this earth, along with large plots of land to use as they may wish. In the center of earth will be volcanoes with scorching lava and brooks of boiling water. This will be the abode of the dwellers of hell. I tried to summarize what he had just stated. I was already aware of what you have explained by reading verses of the glorious Quran. As per Quran, the owners of earth would be pious servants of God. It states that the surface of earth would be transformed into paradise, which would become the abode of the people of paradise. In the center of earth would be the dwellers of hell. The stars and galaxies would be distributed amongst the dwellers of paradise as gifts and dominions. By the way, what will be in them? These details will be revealed in the grand gathering at the court. Do you remember that we had talked about the grand gathering at the court earlier? Yes, you had said that after accountability and judgment, all people destined for paradise would be presented in the court of the Almighty. That meeting is known as the grand gathering at the court. During this, the dwellers of paradise will be awarded their former titles and entitlements. This will also be an opportunity for the people to meet their Lord, as well as an occasion to honor people considered to be worthy of being close to the Almighty. Yes, that day rewards will be given and tasks will also be assigned. I noticed that the lightless moon had now merged into the sun. On seeing this, Saleh said, "The signs manifest in the sky are changing. Merging of the moon into the sun is one of them. This implies that all skies have now been folded. Any moment now, Almighty Lord of the universe will become apparent to everyone, and the much awaited court of accountability will commence. At that time, you and the entire world will find out who is this most esteemed and supreme entity called the God Almighty." Saleh's sentence had not even finished when there was a loud bang. Everyone was shaken up. As the noise came from the sky, everyone's gaze turned upwards. Saleh and I also looked up like everybody else. An astonishing scene appeared right away. There was a large breach in the sky. A little while later, It ruptured and shattered into small fragments like the clouds. The breaches took the shape of multiple gates formed in the sky. From every opening, huge armies of angels began to descend to the earth. There were so many that any sort of counting or estimate was futile. There were various groups of angels, and every group had their own appearance and dress that was unique. The angels began to descend in the center of the plain of judgment, where they encircled a vast, elevated area. The angels were descending from the sky and arranging themselves in numerous circles, all of them standing with their hands held together respectfully. Their number was multiplying with every passing moment. Meanwhile, the clamor of people had ended as well. Everyone seemed spellbound, looking in the direction of the angels with awe-stricken eyes. All one could hear now was the sound of a few whispers. The reason was that everyone was asking the person standing next to him about what was going on. I had an idea of what was happening, but I still sought a clarification from Saleh. As expected, he replied, "The accountability is about to commence. Court of the One and Only is being set up. This is the first stage. The angels are descending and will continue to do so for a long time. Then, at the end, the bearers of the throne will arrive. When you saw them last, they were 4 in number. Now 4 more will join them, and thus 8 angels will come down along with the throne of the Almighty." "The throne of the Almighty?" I muttered to myself. Saleh explained a bit more. "I am sure you can understand that God does not sit on a throne. He is above and beyond such human concepts. In fact, the throne is only a point of contact for his creations. It is just like Kaaba in Mecca in the previous world, which was called the Qibla. It served as a pointer. As you know, the Kaaba was called the home of God, but that did not mean that God lived in it. However, when people faced towards it while praying, it served as a point of contact and focus of attention for them. In the same way, people will be able to have a dialogue with the Almighty today via the throne." I asked, "So people will be able to actually listen to God?" "Yes, just like Moses heard God through a tree in the valley of Mount Sinai. Abdullah, I want to tell you one more important thing." I was already quite attentive, yet became all ears when he said it. "As soon as the bearers of the throne descend, the throne will light up with the reflection of God's pure light called Noor. It will then spread all over the world, and the whole world will light up with God's Noor, indicating that from then onwards, everything will happen under the direct control of Almighty. There was a verse in the Quran that stated that on this day, God would take the entire world in his fist. This is the true meaning of that verse. The very first order of the day would be for everybody to prostrate in front of the Almighty. Abdullah, that order will create a shocking scene. You will see that all the angels will prostrate. All prophets, Siddiqeen, Shohada, and pious persons present in the shadow of the throne on the right side will bow down." I could not help but ask, "What about the people present here on this side of the plain of judgment?" This is the important and shocking event I had alluded to. Any person who had rejected the truth, a hypocrite, one who was defiant to God or a criminal in his eyes, will not be able to prostrate in front of him. Such people will try their utmost to bow down, but their necks and spines will go rigid, like wooden boards, making it impossible for them to bend. In addition, the earth will also resist their movement in its direction. "What about the others?" I asked. Saleh continued. "Those having a mixed bag of deeds, but with fewer sins, will manage to bow down and prostrate, and due to this, they will be called for accountability right away. For the rest, the stronger the faith and better the deeds, the more they will be able to bow. Some people will be able to bow down to the level of the knees. some less than that, and others will only be able to bend their necks for prostration. In essence, the less one bows, the greater his misery would be. I nodded as I understood the concept and said, so it means that when that happens, people will get an idea about their fate. No, although I'm saying so, they would not be aware of it. However, they will feel extremely embarrassed for not being able to prostrate, or will be a bit contented if they manage to bow down. But people will truly come to understand who is God. They will discover the entity they had chosen to ignore during their lives. They will know the King of all kings, the one who rules over all emperors. They will recognize the only one who deserves to be worshipped. They will appreciate the one who controls this universe, the one who is the source of all that is good. They will know the one who can make or break anyone's destiny with a slight gesture. The one who can question anyone about any deed, but no one can question him about anything. They will fully understand that only for him is all praise. Every word of gratitude and every act of worship, whether performed, stood up, kneeled over, or in prostration. They will know who is the one who deserves to be the focus of all offerings. All expressions of humility, all acts of love, all supplications and all chants of God is great, God is great, God is great, God is great. As Saleh spoke the last few words, his body began to tremble and he fell on the ground in prostration as he continued to utter the words, God is great. At the same time, I noticed a peculiar light spreading all over. The whole atmosphere was lit up with that special light. Meanwhile, all the angels started to chant loudly the praise of the Lord, supplications of admiration and thanks, and cries of God is great. I realized that the atmosphere was now lit with the reflection of God's Noor from the throne, but I kept standing there looking down. I did not dare to look up towards the throne. After a short while, I heard the familiar but authoritative voice of Archangel Gabriel, the trustworthy. Whose kingdom is it today? All the angels shouted back, Lillahul Wahidul Kahhar. It belongs to the ever-dominant one and only God. Gabriel, the trustworthy, kept asking this question repeatedly, and the angels kept repeating the same reply loudly. This created such an awe-inspiring scene in the plain of judgment that hearts started to tremble. Finally, a loud voice said, Where are the servants of the Most Merciful? Where are the slaves of the Lord of the worlds? Where are the ones who consider God to be their Lord, their King and their Sustainer? Wherever they are, they must bow down in front of the Lord and Master of the whole universe. As soon as I heard that, without making any effort to look up, I straightway went down in prostration next to Saleh on the ground. The plain of judgment suddenly became very quiet. There was pin-drop silence. The safety I felt while in prostration was unmatched by any previous prostration in my life. I do not know what others were saying in this state, but I was repeatedly begging for forgiveness and mercy. I do not know for how long there was complete silence. Suddenly a voice called out, He is God. There is no God but Him. They were the same words that I had first heard while in prostration close to the throne. However, the voice was completely different. The gravity, severity, and harshness of the voice were such that the bravest of the people present would have trembled on hearing it. For a moment there was a pause, accentuated by the profound silence all around. Then a voice, harsher and louder than even a thunderbolt, said, I am the king. Where are the defiant? Where are the arrogant? Where are the kings of earth? These words hit the ears of the people like a thunderclap. No one was in a position to answer this question. If anything, people started to weep and cry. My body started to tremble because of the sternness, firmness, and ferociousness of the voice. I suddenly recalled every single occasion in my life when I considered myself as powerful, mighty, and in charge, even if only within the confines of my home. I wished that the earth would split open and I would hide in it. I wished I could somehow escape the wrath of God. In a state of utter helplessness, I cried out, "If only my mother had never given birth to me!" My heart and mind could not take this any longer. I lost consciousness and collapsed on the floor.